In case you haven't heard, America's medical industry is pretty effed, but it doesn't have to be. Welcome to Right to the Root. I'm your host, Stephanie Wright, and I've built my career on helping practices reach their full potential. Join us as we dig down to the root of the insurance industry's most complex problems and how we might be able to turn it all around. Today, we're in Ada, which is in my own backyard here in West Michigan, with doctors Jana and Lara Baatenburg. Correct? Yes. Who also grew up in Jenison, so it's a little sweet spot. And they have a really unique model and something that I've worked with in dentistry as far as be a subscription plan or a membership plan or a medical retainer plan. There's a handful of different names. But I want to be able to have you guys introduce yourselves, kind of your journey through med school, graduating, and let me know what was the turning point of why you guys started this.
Absolutely. We are from the West Michigan area, and we went to Calvin University here in Grand Rapids for our undergrad degree. We did a little stint in Detroit at Wayne State for a master's, and then came back to West Michigan for our MD at Michigan State University College of Human Medicine. And then we did our residency in Grand Rapids at Trinity Health, and then continued to work at Trinity Health after that. And it was probably just even a few years into working at Trinity, COVID happened, and we were in this new time frame of medicine. And we started seeing that patients were frustrated. We were frustrated with the care that we could provide, and nothing was really changing about that. And that's when we started thinking, what can we do different?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what did you guys take to Google? Like, help me understand. Like, yes. How did you guys learn of this model?
Of concierge. Well, we were just, spitballing and brainstorming what different ideas could we come up with that wasn't the traditional. And we were on Instagram talking to people who had businesses that said they could help us do something online, and that just didn't feel right. We talked to a variety of different doctors in the area, some specialists, some primary care, and eventually did meet with a couple of doctors who do concierge medicine. The main one was out in Holland, which is about 40 minutes from here, and she had started a concierge practice right in 2020 as the pandemic hit. And I just went out, visited her, not really thinking that concierge is what I wanted to do, but it was just, I thought, a good connection. And after I talked with her and came back from that visit, I realized that that actually fit perfectly with what I value, what I prioritize, and how I wanted to practice medicine. Yep. So started leaning that direction. That physician got us connected with a larger organization that helps physicians start concierge practices. So we met with them. It felt like a good fit, and everything just kind of snowballed from there until we were able to open in September of last year.
How scary was that?
It was incredibly scary.
Yeah. It was terrifying. I mean, I had my own small business I started, and I was scared about that one. Right? Yes. The restrictions with healthcare providers and these in and out of network. I mean, that had to add just an absolute extra layer to who's going to pay additional than what they already pay for high premiums.
For sure. I was going to say, and I particularly always said I did not want to ever start my own business. And then
my weakness, doctor.
Yes. And then this all it kind of started happening, and people started, before we even decided, we're going to do this, people would say, hey, when you start your business. And it was like all these people would say things like that. And it kind of was like, what are they talking about? We're not starting a business. But then we were like,
just dropping the
But then we're like, maybe we are doing this. And having that consulting company was key, because we would have made so many mistakes along the way. So having that support was fantastic.
Yeah, I can absolutely imagine. And it's the opportunity. And I just had my appointment this morning, which was fantastic, because you spend time with me, right? When you go to anywhere else, it's like a 5 minutes in and out. I am a talker, so probably they have it listed on my chart. She doesn't shut up.
So make sure you give her 30 minutes.
I was actually just teaching my son about that. He was like, they really do. I was like, oh yeah, you might put like TLC on there.
You make notes.
Yeah. PETA. Anyway, I'll tell everybody what PETA means later. But yeah, there was just like actual personalized care that went with it. And then the collaboration, which was really great, because there's all too often we have to keep going back to the doctor, keep going back and getting a copay for anything else that we need. And today it was just like, yeah, you know, I mean, I understand it would be a difference if there was like addicting drugs or anything else like that, obviously is something different, but it was great because even the most recent event for me, I had bladder surgery, and that night I could not sleep. My hips hurt so bad. And all I wanted was like 1 Valium, 2 Valiums. Just give me 2 the next night sleeping. And I was told I had to go to the emergency room. I was like, and that's a $250 deductible.
And that's exactly what happens in medicine. And in this practice, we're able to address those things head on. You could have texted her, your physician, and gotten that night.
Because a big part of that is because we do have time to form those relationships. Because when you see someone once a year or maybe once every 2 years because they just don't come to the doctor and they call and say, I need a Valium, it's hard to do that. I mean, there's so many legalities that might be involved. And so it's just hard to do that.
Yeah. Losing that autonomy of care is significant. And I know that there's a time and place for some different restrictions, but in my head, I'm like, look on maps.
Yes.
Please help me.
I don't do this regularly. Yeah.
And so, it just is, I dread even being able to afford it or anything else like that. How long is it going to be able to take me in there again to, can't we just do this through telehealth? It's like I can step out for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever it might be, to be able to do those things. And it becomes that healthcare is very inconvenient.
And there's a lot of things that in this concierge model, we don't even have to do a traditional visit with. Like if we do it through my chart or if we do it through a phone call, those are things you don't traditionally get in a normal system because the doctors aren't getting paid for that. And so they don't want to do it, which totally makes sense, but it's not good patient care. And so our membership model is covering all of that. So we don't have to worry about it.
Well, and it's statistically proven, and I actually had to write down some of my notes here because I left it at home, but the out-of-pocket maximum is average around $8,000 for a single person with some of the insurance, right? And that's for when you have this really high deductible plan. And, so when you have this opportunity where you have to spend $8,000 before anything else is going to be covered at like 70, 80, 90, 100%, right? There's a fraction of what, that's less than half of what it is for an adult. And now it's unlimited. And again, too, when we focus on this prevention portion of it, how much we're actually saving. It's profound to me to see the amount of money, billions, that could be prevented if somebody just had accessible and easy preventative care and comprehensive preventative care, right?
And the time to be educated, because I mean, so much of prevention is just education,
absolutely,
and you don't have time to do that in the traditional system, so none of it's happening. They call it your preventative care visit, but really all you're doing is making sure you had your mammogram and your pap smear, and I mean those are great things,
right? But it's not enough.
It's not enough.
If we could get to a point where, again, too, we can be on a telehealth and we're talking to the doctor about some different symptoms and such like that, and they're just like, let's keep you moving through Tylenol, right? Like this, because oftentimes people just need to have that reassurance.
Oh, so
before
frequently.
They go to the emergency room, right? Of like, everything's good. Here's some different things that we can be doing, and tomorrow let me know how everything is, right? And we'll kind of go from there. Even parents with young kids, my gosh, my firstborn, everything was wrong with him. I was like, it needs to be a bubble wrap and all these things and stuff, and you're worried because it's just this little being. And so even at that, as we look at some of the different care here, and I look at the opportunity for a lot of my clients that are small businesses and small business in healthcare, that offering healthcare, it decreases the amount of lost productivity by 76% because people have access to that prevention portion of it. And then on top of it, the retention of employees when you have something like that. And so a plan like this is, not only is it significantly less, and again, too, I should note that there still is a place for traditional insurance because of catastrophic care.
Absolutely.
You're not going to be able to see me after, ambulance will drop me off at the front door.
We have that question a lot from prospective patients who are like, oh, this means I can get rid of my insurance, right? And we're like, no. We don't do surgery. We are not emergency medicine doctors. We're not specialists. So you may need to see somebody else, and then you do need that.
It is. And if you can go, so often, people always focus on the deductible, right? And so they'll go ahead and the high premium cost. And so if people could understand that, get the catastrophic care, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Have this much lower premium. And yep, it's going to come out with a out-of-pocket maximum that's actually pretty similar to the ones with, a lower deductible.
Yeah.
It's still less.
It is.
Than to come here and be able to have that and not have to worry about it, because there are people that it can prevent them from going to see the doctor over a $35 copay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And it's really unfortunate that we're not focusing on that, and in America, the billions that is wasted on medical debt from everybody.
Oh, so much medical debt.
Yeah.
I've heard it's the number one cause of declaring bankruptcy.
Yeah.
Because you can't afford.
And I get that. I mean, it's even then as when I was a young mother, it was about paying for my kids to have insurance and not me, because I was like, yeah, right. And I was like, please don't get sick.
Yeah.
Which is terrible. And that's the whole thing is even if small businesses, or because larger businesses, I believe they have to have like proof of actual insurance of it. But there's so many of them around here. The amount of money that they would spend on just their employee, I think it's $200 a month. And they're having a 78% higher retention rate for that employee and 76% increase in productivity compared to like uninsured. That's significant.
That's huge. Yeah.
And that just tells you how much prevention and the accessibility to it is so important. And people can't leave work all the time.
No.
So
if they need a visit during work, sometimes we could just call them.
Yeah.
Yeah. If they're a patient.
So what are you guys' thoughts on Corewell Health and Priority Health and the relationship they have?
I don't have a ton of experience personally working with Corewell Health because I've never worked there. And it is obviously a large healthcare system in this city, but it's not the only one. So Corewell and Trinity and University of Michigan are all there. And I think we need healthcare systems for the bigger dollar things, right?
Yeah.
We need hospitals. But what they're doing for primary care, I don't see as significantly beneficial for patients. And it's really not focused on patients. And so that's what we have tried to do here, is to return it to focusing on the patient.
Yeah. I mean, as an employee of one of those larger systems, you really are a referral source. I mean, that's the main... At least that's how it feels, I'd say.
Priority Health forces that.
They do. And because primary care does not make money, they lose money for the systems. What makes money are the specialists and the procedures and all the things that they want us to refer for. So it doesn't make you feel very valued as an employee there when that's your role. Yeah. Because that's not what I went to school for, to refer.
You don't need to have a lot of education to refer people.
Yeah. Well, and that's, exactly. Just like, here's the port of the system. And again, too, sure, there's a referral for different things that, can be taken care of. And I appreciate it even when I was going through with trying to identify the right medication for my ADHD. And before I went to a psychiatrist, why not give it a try? Right?
Yeah.
And now a psychiatrist, which I adore her, she's worth every penny. But, it's a $35 copayment, right?
Yeah.
And you have to consistently stay with it.
Yep.
And she was my psychiatrist before I switched over. My husband's company switched to Priority Health for insurance. And they wanted me to see somebody that was, within the network that I couldn't get in to see for like 7 months to see a psychiatrist.
Yeah.
And that whole circle of what Priority Health is doing in Corewell Health, and you just keep on buying up. It's private equity and such. And so Trinity is there, and it's, as well too. But I don't, I think how large of a footprint Corewell and Priority Health have, and just the tentacles that it reaches into everything is... It's pretty profound.
Yeah. And patients feel that. Yeah. I mean, they know that, but they don't always have a choice. Like you said, I mean, if that's what your insurance says and that's all you can't afford to go outside of that, then you're stuck.
Well, and if you go out online and you look at a referral, so say, for instance, we know that, there's some of the plans that absolutely require the referral, but you're like, okay, I have a dermatology issue or whatever, there's something suspicious, and you go there without that referral as well too. Now you're having money that you have to pay.
Absolutely.
And it's like, okay, well, can we backdate the referral or something?
I know.
It just is, it's crazy to me.
Yeah. And I think, primary care can't do everything, but we really try to, especially in family medicine, is to take care of all the things that we can before we do those referrals. And so we can do weight management, we can do medications for that. that if that comes to it. We help women navigate menopause through with hormone therapy. You don't have
was me
to
today.
you don't have to see a gynecologist or a specialist if your primary care is trained in that. And we can manage diabetes, we manage hypertension. There's so much that we can manage, and you don't need to go pay those co-pays for all those specialists.
Well, I mean, even thinking of diabetes as well, too, right? If somebody can't afford to go ahead and have it, the comprehensive prevention covered and taken care of, then they end up in the hospital, right? Until it gets really bad.
Yeah, and then it costs even more.
Yeah, mortality rates are not great in America compared to other Western, countries. It's really quite sad. One of the things I keep on seeing on Instagram or anything, because that's the place for, all of the advertisements, is now you can pay to have like a full body scan. Like, what are you guys' thoughts on this?
Is it a full body MRI?
I think so.
Yeah.
Right?
I just had a couple of patients ask about it. Now, there's not an indication for that currently from, say, the large organizations that make healthcare recommendations. And I think there's risks with it because, yes, could you find something early that you could catch? Potentially. Yeah. You might also find a bunch of things you don't want to find. And then what do you do about it? Yeah. And so it's not necessarily an easy, you should do this, or no, you shouldn't do this.
And I also think some people just think that everyone should have everything that's possible. Yeah. But if you actually look at healthcare as more of the global picture, how beneficial is that? And if we're talking about the expense, how much an MRI costs and how much you're actually going to catch on it, it may just not be worth it. And I understand on an individual level, it's different, because if you do have one and you find a cancer early, you're like, yes, we all need to do this, but
it's a small percentage.
It's a very small percentage. And so we can't just think of one person at a time in those situations. You can't. You do have to think more globally.
But that's why we've started doing different genetic testing for screenings for cancers and some other things. And so that's a way that you can look in a more, I guess, you look for a potential problem. And then if you see that, then you can continue to do additional imaging, such as an MRI. But does that mean that everybody that's asymptomatic and feels great should have a full body MRI?
That's kind of how I feel as well, too. It just is, if you think about it, you're just going to create a larger mental health problem. Because somebody's going to take to Google and something that is low average, they're going to obsess about, right? Yeah. And so what are you going to do? And when you're anxious and depressed or whatever it may be that's causing, you're going to end up causing yourself other health problems even more. Yeah. So it's seeing that on the rise. I'm like, oh man, I know if I got a scan, I'd be a lunatic, I think. So that's why I'm staying away.
Yeah. Like, you have to know yourself. Like some people should not ever do that.
I just want to read the summary after things, because I was like, if there's a word in there, I'm like Googling it, trying to find what is this? Is it bad?
Right. I know, because the chance you have a CT scan and it doesn't show anything abnormal is rare. Oh yeah, absolutely. So there's always gonna be something. Yep. But should we worry? Maybe not.
I would absolutely agree with that. So I just wanted you guys to take on that one. Thought maybe. So my other question I had was medical tourism. There's a few different ways of it, right? Dentistry, people can go fly to Brazil to some of the top dentists that are there, have a full vacation and come back with actual quality. Then there's terrible quality out there. But then there's also places, so there's alternative care for cancer that are in some different developing countries as well too, that have not been approved here. In undeveloped countries as well too. There's some in Mexico that makes it a little bit more accessible as well too. I think even my sister-in-law went to Turkey, I think, for in vitro. Oh, right, because it was affordable for her.
I mean, I'd say you have to be real careful.
Oh, I absolutely agree. Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, if it's something that like in vitro that we do here and it's more affordable there, I guess I don't see a problem with it. I get concerned when people are foregoing the evidence-based treatments that we have here in hopes that something either more natural or just sounds better might be more beneficial.
Well, that's where, I have this balance of, obviously, government trying to, the FDA and everything else like that. And lots of red tape, right? When there's new medicine or anything, but it's also for a good reason as well, too, because we look at people in this level of desperation. And how do you identify online if somebody's quality? right?
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
especially in other countries. Like there's just, it's the Wild West,
is.
you know, to me. And I am puzzled by it. I plan on visiting some of these places as well too.
Oh,
so
that'd be cool.
yeah, I know.
Yes.
I know. But it's true. Like I think that people run in desperation. And when you think of some place like Mexico, it is relatively inexpensive to go there. So if there's some sort of surgery that you need to have that is going to cost thousands of dollars and you can go over the border for a couple hundred, that's terrifying to me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it really is.
And I mean, I've had patients that have had elective surgeries done in another country, and then they come back with like drains placed, and then they want you to now manage that.
Yes.
And you're like, well, I don't have any documentation. I don't know anything about it.
Can't see on the inside.
No. And so it's not like, that's not the wisest decision.
It isn't. It's actually kind of scary. And again, too, I think that there's, you know, if you're really diving deep and everything, and perhaps last ditch effort for stuff, because there's a place for Western medicine, I think, you know, mentally that might help somebody that might be terminal of some sort.
Right. And then we're talking terminal diagnoses. I feel like there is a little bit different way to approach that.
Yeah.
And so I think that's can be a different conversation even.
But I think it's just that desperation.
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, I'm like, I guess if I'm going to die, let's go on vacation. Let's do this.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, it's warmer down there. I don't like to go.
Right.
So just so you guys know, if you ever tell me I'm going to die,
That's
probably you don't have to worry about it.
Give you my
Turn
blessing.
off the reminders.
And I do think too, some people there's so much hate towards like the FDA and the traditional medical system. And there's all these conspiracies that it's completely, what they're telling us is completely false. So people just will go somewhere else, which I don't know if that's necessarily any better though. And I don't know, I don't know if I don't buy into all of these conspiracies, but if that's what you believe and then you choose something that has little evidence and much higher risk, it just doesn't seem wise.
Yeah.
And these people that are doing that, they're still coming to traditional medicine and asking for our advice. And so it's like this vicious dichotomy. Like, why are you coming to me if you don't believe any of the things that the healthcare system is providing? Yeah. So it's very interesting.
It is. I mean, we saw this during COVID as well too, right? Sure. Like, and I, a long time ago when I was a career student, I wanted to be a parasitologist. So it was like part of it kind of dabbled into viruses as well too. And like, I would try to tell people, I'm like, viruses are like, they're unpredictable. You just don't know. Like I even look at it with like my hand for herpetic whitlow, and it's like, I don't know what's going to pop up. I don't kind of when I'm, stressed or anything. And so even though I think as Americans, there was probably different ways we could have handled things better, but nonetheless, the conspiracies that came from it. And I'm like, why are all the doctors around the nation, around the world saying one thing, but we've got three like cuckoos on TikTok.
Yeah.
Right?
Or podcasts,
Yeah, it's sad, but true that there is that battle that has to happen. But I think what drives that force as well, too, to believe in some of these things is the lack of trust that patients have in the healthcare system that's dictated by the insurance.
I think so. Yeah.
Bringing it full circle.
Yeah, it really is.
Absolutely.
It is. And I mean, that's like just the getting down to the root of all the problems. And it absolutely...
The one thing that is true is that insurance companies are, I don't think, looking out for the patient.
No.
And so that's a big problem.
They're providing healthcare without a license, is what I say.
Yeah.
They really are. And it's, by means of downgrades, denials, just alternative methods, even for myself, the iron infusion. Like my doctor ordered one thing. They were like, let's do the real risky one. She might die, but if she doesn't, it's going to save us a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And it was. And so here I am like, okay, cool. I got to take another couple hours off from work because I did have a reaction to it. Yeah. I didn't die clearly, but I also was like, I was really surprised.
Yeah, for sure.
And just having that happen and having them dictate even the medications that we're on or, like so much so that, my previous insurance was paying for Manjaro that was on. Well, now previous plan, I should say, but all within the same insurance company that different plan, they won't pay for it and said that I have to be on lisinopril for a year first. I'm like, so it's not even like you're pushing me to a generic of it, right? Like you're just like whole different medication before you want to pay for it. And I get it because,
it's expensive.
It is very expensive. And I understand like this level of, keeping premiums down, large corporations with efficiencies and such. But at the end of the day, again, we're driving the force for people to leave the country. We're driving the force that there's this lack of trust for doctors or anything, and they don't realize that there's just a lack of autonomy that they're able to provide in these large health systems.
You have to play within the system, play within the rules.
Yeah, so that they can make money. Yeah. And guess who gets blamed for it?
Yes.
Well, I know, and I hear so much complaint about doctors, and I'm not saying that doctors are all great. There's obviously not good doctors out there, but they are in a system that's very difficult. So when people complain that my doctor only spent 5 minutes with me, I'm like,
or they pushed meds on me.
I'm like, well, they probably didn't. They probably were in a hurry. They have a lot of constraints. And so give them a little grace too.
Well, and their appointments are just like jam-packed together, right? It's just, and I see it over with my client base of predominantly all dentists, is it's like, the only way we have Delta Dental, who for over 10 years did not increase reimbursements, right? And so now we see this rapid rate of doctors removing that participation.
Happened to us.
Well, I'm in Delta Dental in 2023 served me a cease and desist for my work. That was another driving force of this podcast.
Wow. Yeah. Oh, that's fascinating.
I mean, when you're educating a lot of the doctors, you're like, I'm absolutely believe I've contributed to West Michigan having a high rate of removing the participation, but also some of the doctors do it well, some of them don't. But my doctors we give information so the patient is well informed prior to it about their plan, and then how they can fight back to the insurance company afterward. And so, yeah. My license plate says FYDLTA. It does. It was such an expensive response to them that it was like, you're coming after one person in little West Michigan, with this cease and desist. So
wow,
yeah, it's pretty crazy out there, and it just is extra proof to me why this podcast is absolutely necessary. Talking to doctors like yourself as well too, to get that voice out there. Not only our small businesses in the area have choices that they can provide that's affordable. That's the biggest thing I hear all the time. And so I was so excited when I saw you guys on the news. I was like, make an appointment now.
So glad you found us.
Yeah, I am. I am so glad, because it is like, even today in my appointment this morning, everything that we were able to go over, and even things with, my hand and the medication I need, I was like, I would have had to go to urgent care if I wanted it weekend or anything. There, I'm like, I don't.
Or schedule 4 different appointments.
Yeah,
in 3 weeks, right?
Yeah, no, and it just is. It's mind blowing to me, and I can't wait to have my family here and the options that you guys have. Where my kid falls during baseball, we can just call you.
Right. For sure.
I'm a terrible parent though, because when my kid broke his hand and I waited like 4 days. So you're fine.
That happens.
The balance. Sometimes
I'll be able to call you back.
Yes, absolutely. And we can get you that X-ray.
Exactly. So there's this place for it. And I think that if specifically for small practices and the availability here in West Michigan alone to have 2 amazing doctors that spend adequate time for you, build the options in there so you guys can be as efficient as the patient needs as well too, because people don't want to lose work, right?
Yeah.
They want to be able to hear those things and very quickly. And so this is just an amazing option. I can't wait to have my clients really start pushing to get their employees here. So
awesome.
We appreciate that. And we'd be happy to serve that community.
Yeah.
We need the support of the community. And so this is really special.
It really, and it falls right in with what I'm doing in my client offices is removing that barrier of care of like, hey, having accessibility to the needs. So
absolutely.
I can't thank you guys enough.
Thank you.
I'm positive there's going to be some things that come up with some of my travels that I want to come back and revisit with you guys and be like, so tell me what you think of this.
Oh, I'd love to. This was so fun. I'd love to do it again.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so excited. Yeah, we'll have to definitely do some more episodes. So.
Fantastic.
Yay.